Ever wonder why you remember some things more than others? Welcome to the fascinating world of memory, a place where some moments stick like glue, while others simply vanish. It's a peculiar landscape, full of inconsistencies, where the first and last things you hear often have a way of standing out. Intrigued? There's an explanation for this phenomenon known as the primacy and recency effect. So buckle up and prepare to dive deep into the human mind. Stay tuned if you want to uncover the secrets of your memory. Have you ever noticed that you tend to remember the first items on a grocery list more than the ones in the middle? That, my friends, is called the primacy effect. The primacy effect, as it's known in psychology, is a cognitive bias that means we're more likely to remember the first pieces of information we encounter than those that come later. It's a fascinating quirk of our memory, and it pops up in all sorts of places. Imagine you're at a party and you're introduced to a group of new people. You'll probably find that the names of the first few individuals you meet stick in your mind more than those you meet later in the evening. That's the primacy effect in action. But why does this happen? Well, it's all about attention and rehearsal. When we first start absorbing information like the items at the top of a grocery list, we're fresh, we're focused, and we have the mental capacity to really pay attention. We also tend to subconsciously rehearse or repeat this early information in our minds, which helps to cement it in our memory. In contrast, by the time we get to the middle or end of the list, our attention may have waned and we're less likely to rehearse this information, making it more difficult to remember. So the next time you want to remember something important, try putting it at the beginning. But what about the last items on that grocery list, or the most recent person you met at the party? That's where the recency effect comes into play. This cognitive phenomenon refers to our tendency to remember the most recent information we've encountered. Consider this: you've just met a group of people at a social event. Chances are you'll remember the name of the last person you were introduced to compared to those you met earlier. This is the recency effect at work. Now, let's delve into why this happens. The recency effect is closely tied to our short-term memory. You see, our short-term memory is like a small temporary storage space for information. It's where we keep the most recent data before deciding whether to discard it or move it to our long-term memory. When we're introduced to a series of new information, like a list of items or a group of people, the last few pieces of information are still fresh in our short-term memory. That's why they seem more accessible and easier to recall. However, it's important to note that the recency effect is most prevalent when there's little to no delay between the presentation of information and the recall. If you're distracted or a significant amount of time passes, the recency effect might not be as strong. So, if something's really important, you might want to save it for last. Now that you know about the primacy and recency effect, how can you use this knowledge to your advantage? Well, it's quite simple, really. By understanding these principles, we can structure our learning, presentations, or any situation where recall is important to maximize these effects. Let's break it down into some actionable steps. Firstly, let's talk about studying. When you're learning new information, try to structure your study sessions in a way that takes advantage of both the primacy and recency effects. Start and end your sessions with the most important or difficult topics. This ensures that these crucial bits of information fall into the periods of primacy and recency, making them more likely to stick in your memory. Now, imagine you're giving a presentation. You want your audience to remember your key points, right? So, place your most important points at the beginning and end of your presentation. This way, you're capitalizing on the primacy and recency effects to make sure your audience remembers what matters most. But what about in everyday life? Well, ever noticed how you remember the first and last items on your grocery list better than the ones in the middle? That's the primacy and recency effect at play. So, next time you're jotting down your shopping list, put the items you absolutely can't forget at the beginning and end of your list. However, remember that the middle shouldn't be neglected. For the best results, try to review or revisit the middle information periodically to reinforce it in your mind. So, in a nutshell, to leverage the power of the primacy and recency effects, you should structure your study sessions or presentations to start and end with the most important information. Place crucial items at the beginning and end of lists, and don't forget to review the middle information. With these strategies in your arsenal, you'll be a memory master in no time. Let's quickly recap what we've learned today. We began by unraveling the mystery of memory, shedding light on how our brains prioritize information. This led us to the discovery of the primacy effect, which is the tendency for us to remember items at the beginning of a list. We explored examples of this, like remembering the first few items on a grocery list or the first few words of a song. Then we delved into the recency effect, the phenomenon where we remember the most recent items or experiences. Think about it. The last movie you watched or the last conversation you had are probably the easiest to recall, but we didn't stop at just understanding these concepts. We ventured further to see how we can use these memory phenomena to our advantage. We learned strategies to enhance our recall ability. By strategically placing important information at the beginning or end of a study session, presentation, or conversation, we can improve our memory retention and retrieval. We also discussed real-life examples where these strategies have been successfully applied, like in marketing campaigns or in education. It's truly fascinating to see how understanding the inner workings of our mind can impact our daily life. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding how your memory works can give you the upper hand in many situations. Until next time, keep unlocking the mysteries of your mind.